up, YouTube? Driving to the new project. Almost there. Finally. Been driving for miles. Good Lord. 18-wheeler in front of me just had a blowout. Tire stuff flying everywhere. Anyway, so what's the big topic right now? The whitetail shift. All everybody's talking about on YouTube. So I'm going to tell you what I have witnessed, what me and my buddy have witnessed running cameras on this property from April, May, all the way to January for 3 years now. I think it's the third year. So, and also the same thing I noticed at my old camp down in South Arkansas. So, what is the whitetail shift? That is when September is ending, October's beginning, and people were saying, oh my God, my bucks have disappeared. It's the October lull. Where'd they all go? In fact, what's really happening, guys, is the bachelor groups are breaking up. So when you're looking at your game camera over your pile of corn and you're seeing 4 or 5 bucks, now you're only seeing 1. You're trying to figure out where all them bucks went. But literally, it's just the bachelor groups are splitting up now. Where are the deer? Where are the deer going, and which deer are leaving? Well, I'm about to tell you what I have witnessed on camera to be a true fact. Now, before I say this, I'm going to say, remember, we feed our deer starting in April, May, all the way through January. Every 2 weeks, we're putting corn, protein pellets, we have small food plots, we have mineral sites, and then we have natural food out the wazoo. Tons of acorns. We got white oaks, red oaks, black oaks. We got water oaks. We got every oak you can imagine out there. There's so many brushy oak trees out there. I call them brush oaks because they're not real big. There's so many of them. Even on the off acorn years, we still have acorns. Wooded browse, our stem count is major high. All over the property. Super high stem count. Super good cover. So what did we decide to do? We wanted to feed our deer year round so that they have no reason to leave. Because there is neighboring properties with people that hunt, and we don't want our deer over there. So you take that set of bachelor group. Now you have your, let's say you have your 4-year-old, your 3-year-old, your 2-year-olds, and your yearlings. When they split up, what deer are leaving and where are they going? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's real simple. The deer that is a wuss in the age class, it doesn't matter if he's a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, or a 2-year-old. If they're wusses and they don't like fighting, they don't like confrontation, and you have another deer, he might be younger, he might have a bigger rack, he might have a smaller rack, or it could be an older deer with a big rack or a small rack, and he's got the body weight to push around. Whatever deer is the most dominant with the biggest attitude is a deer that's going to stay there. So hopefully our hope is that the deer that we want to kill the most with the best rack is the deer that has the biggest attitude, and he's going to stay right there on that same pattern, or within that same area. But it's not always the case. Sometimes you got bullet bucks. They could be young, they could be small, or they could be old. They could be an old deer with hardly no horns. Might be downhill. He's just an asshole of a deer. But your deer aren't shifting because they want to move to another area. They're shifting because they're getting pushed out. The young bucks, they're going to be moving around trying to find their place in the world. The older mature bucks, whichever one is the biggest butthole, is going to own that spot. Let me ask you this: if you got a place where you got all the cover you need, all the food you need, all the water you need, all the girls you need. Are you gonna, why in the world would you move to another spot? It doesn't even make any sense. And we've all determined through millions of videos, deer are just as lazy as we are. They take the easiest paths to travel. They take whatever is the easiest for them is whatever they're going to do. Why in the world would they move? They have no reason to move. They have everything they want year-round. So they're not moving because they have a rut zone 2 miles away. They're not moving because it's just in their nature to change locations from summer to fall. They're moving because they either don't want to fight, they don't want any conflict, they don't want any pressure, they don't want any peer pressure, or they're getting pushed out, or they're the boss and they're staying there. If they have safety, food, cover, whatever buck wants that area, he's keeping it. He's not moving just because it's October and he needs to move. That doesn't make any sense in any world. Just think about it. When you were in your 20s, young and strong and headstrong, and at the bar, you had the best seat in the bar, where you got a beer every time you wanted one. You didn't have to get up and ask for it, and all the ladies would walk by where you could see them and say hi. You went to the bathroom and came back, and another guy was in your seat. Did you just let him have it? Hell no. Go, hey man, I'm sitting there. Get up, move. You sit somewhere else beside me, down the road, whatever. You're not taking my spot. I'm already here. Why the hell would I move just for you? Same thing with deer. They're not moving unless they're forced to move. Now, if you're a wuss and that guy's in your seat, maybe you're like, well, I don't want to go to jail tonight. I don't want to get in a fight. You just let him have it. Then you move to the next closest area that's got the same benefits with no confrontation. Same thing the deer do. Same exact thing. So now, maybe your big rack buck has moved. Maybe the one you wanted to kill the most with the best score, or he's the oldest with a little rack, but you want to kill an old deer. Whatever the case, maybe your deer moved. Now you got to find him again. How do you do that? Well, hopefully you've done your summer scouting and you know all the good areas that are surrounding the best area that you're going to hunt. You know where your best area is. That's where you're set up to hunt. Now, what was your second best looking area? Like if you have a bad wind and you can't hunt your favorite spot, where's your next spot you're going to hunt? That's probably where that deer is moving to, if you've done your scouting and your homework. If you can't hunt there because they both take the same wind, where would you hunt after that? What's your third favorite spot? So go check your other spots. If you can bait in your area, move around, half a mile, whatever your property allows you to move around to some other areas where there's old, last year's rub, scrape, deer sign, other good bedding areas that bucks bed there. Put you some corn out, put your camera out, and see if you can find him. And then if you find him, see how he frequents there. And then reset up your whole new spot on that deer right there. That's really all you can do. You got to scout, boots on the ground, be mobile. Now with that, I was going to mention another good little tactic that you can use if you run a lot of cameras. So, like for us, or for me, we run a lot of cameras, like the Copperhead spot. I never hunted it last year, but like twice. But at the end of the year, when I picked up my camera, I noticed, I noticed that the last 2 weeks of November, I had the big white 8-point was in there almost every single day, chasing does around, breeding does on camera. So I will, no matter what, be there, as that's the deer I'm wanting to kill this year. I will be there during that 2 weeks of November. Reason why is, well, let me just say this. Also, my buddy was hunting 10-point. He seen that 10-point over in the pines during a certain time time frame, the deer stayed there for a week or two. Then he seen him over on the side of a ridge. Deer stayed there for a week or two. And he kept moving around on that deer. He started out at the big oak. Then he moved over to the pines. Then he moved back over to a ridge, kind of in between the pines and the big oak. Now, in my opinion, what is them deer doing? This is well, first of all, back to what I was saying. So, keep notes of when you see deer in areas, because they're going to be back the following year, right around that same date in those same areas. Here's why. Those older bucks, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds and up, they know when the doe groups are coming in heat. If you go back and look at all the research that people's done, all these colleges that have done research on whitetail deer, those come in heat pretty much within a day or two of the same date every single year. So them mature bucks, them older bucks, they know where the doe groups are. They know through their past history when them groups are coming into heat, are fixing to come into heat, or going to come into heat, or going to be into heat. So what do? They move from one group to the next, to the next, to the next, until all the does in their area are bred. And then if there's no more does, then your buck may start traveling a long ways. But until all the doe groups in your areas are bred, that buck's going to stay there, and he's going to move from group to group. They know for a fact, without a doubt, when those doe groups are going to come into heat. They know where those doe groups are. So their whole purpose during the rut is they're going to move around to find those does. That's my take on where the bucks go. The other thing is, when you see those bucks, when you've recorded those bucks from the last year in those areas on those certain dates, and you notice they've been there for maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe 3 days in a row, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. It probably depends on the size of the doe groups that they're with or that they're trying to service at the time. Write those dates down. If you didn't do it last year, do it this year. Keep those dates in your head, in a book or whatever, and then the following year, be set up to be in those areas the following year on those dates. I've heard many people say it to be true on YouTube. Guys talking about this buck here. I filmed him. I caught him on the camera last year or 2 years in a row when he was 3, and then when he was 4, he was at the same place on November the 23rd through the 27th. I waited till he was 5. I went there on the 23rd through the 27th, and I killed him on the 23rd. It's the same all over the country. Anyway, try that out. Also, I wanted to touch base a little more on the mock scrapes that I made the other day. When I went back and watched the video, I realized I didn't put much info in it. So, what I do is, I'll go find a good active scrape. Once they're active, I love to scrape hunt. I'll go find a good active scrape. I'll dig me some dirt out of that scrape. I'll cut that licking branch down. That scrape will probably go dead as soon as you cut the licking branch down. That's the calling card. That's the cell phone of the whitetail, is the licking branch. I'll do this in an area that I have no intentions of hunting. I'll take that, bring that to my area where I'm going to hunt. I'll make a mock scrape. Or I may take that dirt and just put half of it in a scrape that I'm already hunting, that's already established, a good scrape that's already established. Preferably scrapes close to bedding areas that mostly only bucks are using. They're coming in, they're letting the other bucks know, hey, I'm here, this is my area, I'm still here, whatever. I'll take that dirt from that other scrape, from across the other side of the ranch, dump it in my scrape, and that tells that buck, hey, what the hell's going on? What's this guy doing over here? And then it's going to make him want to come out and freshen it up. Now, how does a deer use a scrape? A lot of times a buck won't even go up to a scrape. A lot of times he'll just go circle downwind of it, see what he smells in there. If it's the same as the day before, he may not come to it. If he doesn't smell a fresh doe in there, or a doe that's getting close, or a strange bucking area, he may not come to that scrape. He'll just circle downwind of it, see what it He's got shit to do. He ain't got time to go walk by every single scrape. He ain't gonna use the phone all day long. Just like we don't have time to be on the cell phone all day. He ain't got time to go check them licking branches all day or check them scrapes. He's trying to cover as much ground as he can, breed as many does as he can before the breeding season's over. So they'll circle downwind of the scrape and try to pick up if there's any new activity going on at that scrape. Now, if he smells some new activity, then he'll come over there and investigate. So you go to one of those scrapes on the other side of town, especially if it's got some fresh deer pee in it. You dig that dirt up, you bring it over, you put it in your scrape, and you get on the just off wind on the downwind side, using your best judgment by his trails and his patterns that you've learned, seeing how when he circles downwind where he might be coming in from or coming from, and you get on it just off wind and sit over there. You put that dirt in that scrape from another scrape with all them other deer smells, and you cut that licking branch down and you hang it up beside the licking branch that's already there. He might come in there and check that out. He might not, but you got a hell of a lot better chance that he's going to if you do that. Another thing you can do is find a good big rub that's just shredded to pieces. Cut that rub down, bring it over there and hang that rub up in the tree right beside that licking branch. That rub is full of buck scent. He smells that and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. You go over and see what's going on over here. That works really good, man. You don't always see the deer you want to see come in there, but it will bring in some deer and have them check it out and see who is this strangers in this area. What are they doing over here? And who is this guy? Is this old Fred come back? Is this that little bully, or is this some new dude that we don't even know? Anyway, just a few little tricks that I use. You guys can try out if you want to.